So Minnesota's coming to town, and the Tigers want to keep it rolling. We have won 3 series in a row now. And the possibility of winning 4 series in a row, Minnesota has 0 to play for. With all the aspirations they came into the season with, they have 0 to play for at this point. They've been eliminated from playoff contention and even from wild card contention, as they should have been. They just have not been good enough all season long to make anything happen. But they are 6-10 against the Detroit Tigers this season. So let's talk about the pitching matchups. All right, on Friday at 7:10 is going to feature Joe Ryan against Drew Hutchinson. Ryan on the season is 12-8 with 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He also walks about 3 per 9 innings with a 250-ish batting average on balls in play. Got a 3.70 ERA and a 4.12 FIP, which indicates that he's gotten a little bit luckier than his ERA would indicate. He hasn't pitched as well as his ERA would indicate. He's going to face off against the, ever steady, always gives him a chance to compete, Drew Hutchinson, who's 3-9. He strikes out close to about 5.5, 5.6 per 9 innings, walks almost 4 per 9 innings, so that's going to be huge for him to be able to not hit that number in this game. 287 batting average on balls in play, a 4.54 ERA with a 4.92 FIP. Game 2 on Saturday at 6:10. Going to feature Dylan Bundy against Tyler Alexander. Bundy on the season's 8-8 with 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, almost 2 walks per 9 innings, a 286 batting average on balls in play, 4.93 ERA, and a 4.67 FIP. And Tyler Alexander, since he has been a starter, or as a starter this season, is probably a better way to say that. He's 2-10 with a 5.32 K per 9 innings and a 2.2 walks per 9 innings. He batting average on balls in plays up at about 284. Very elevated ERA at 5.71. His overall ERA is lower because of his time spent out in the bullpen. But he has a 4.34 FIP, and truthfully, he has been pitching a lot better than those numbers would even indicate, including throwing 6 innings of no-hit baseball in Baltimore just over a week ago. So hopefully he can come in and continue to roll, keep rolling, as the graphic says, because he's been pitching much better. On Sunday, in the series finale and the final game with the Minnesota Twins this season, Bailey Ober is going to be taking on Joey Wentz. Ober on the season's 2-3, strikes out about 8 per 9 innings, walks almost 2 per 9 innings, 295 batting average on balls in play, a 3.18 ERA, but a 2.74 WHIP, indicating that he's gotten a little bit more unlucky and could be very, very good against the Tigers on Sunday. He's going to be facing off against Joey Wentz. I almost want to say bright spot for the Tigers at this point in the season. Seeing him pitch as well as he has, and the way that he can spin the baseball, get the ball up around the plate, be effective at the major league level, kind of gives you a little bit of a different concept or perception of the deal that Al Avila did make for him. I mean, we got to give credit where credit's due, as we talked about with Lynn Henning on Monday, right? The overall trades, and the overall perception of Avila may change as time goes on. It was time for him to go, but Joey Wentz is definitely part of that, the good aspect of the trades that he made. He's on the season 2-2 with a 739 K per 9. He walks almost 3 per 9, 241 batting average on balls in play, a 3.54 ERA, and a 3.47 FIP. So pitching pretty consistently to the numbers. You just want to see him attack the strike zone, going after hitters, making sure that he's mixing speeds and really using that cutter and changeup very effectively depending on, the righty-lefty matchup. But when we talk about the Twins, we want to talk about the bullpen because their big trades that they made at the deadline to compete kind of failed them. They went after and they went to Baltimore and they got Jorge Lopez, who with Baltimore had a 1.68 ERA, a 2.99 FIP, a .972 WHIP, and he struck out 3 batters to every 1 walk that he gave up. But with Minnesota, it's been a completely different story. A 5.03 ERA, a 4.59 FIP, a 1.78 WHIP, which is nearly double what it was in Baltimore. And he's only striking out about 1.2 batters for every walk that he gives up. Fulmer been consistent. They also traded with the Tigers and got Michael Fulmer. And Fulmer's been consistent. With Detroit, he had a 3.20 ERA. With Minnesota, he's got a 3.18 ERA. With Detroit, he had a 3.22 FIP. With Minnesota, he's got a 3.60 FIP. With Detroit, he had a 1.25 whip, and with Minnesota, he's at a 1.50 whip. He's actually striking out more batters per walk than he did when he was with Detroit. But they're contributing to Minnesota having the 20th best bullpen in all of baseball. Compare that to Detroit's that's top 10. Their bullpen is struggling, and if you want to win this series, you got to get to that bullpen. Now, they do have the 10th best offense according to Fangraphs. They walk 8% of the time. They only strike out 22% of the time. And they've created 107 runs. Or they have 107 weighted runs created is a better way to say that. About 7% above Major League average. And you want to be above Major League average when it comes to creating runs. But they're not a great fielding team. They're 19th best in all of baseball with a negative 15 outs above average. Compared to the Tigers, who are upper half of the MLB defensively, which may surprise people, but Jonathan Scope is one of the best in defensive run saves and outs against average, potentially looking at a Gold Glove. The bat's not there, but the glove definitely is. The goal here for the Tigers against Minnesota is going to be to take 2 or 3. Win the series. Win your 3rd series in a row. 4th series in a row. Baltimore, Chicago, Kansas City, Minnesota. Show the fans and show yourself that you can compete in the AL Central. Because 2022 has been tossed away. We've forgotten about it. We're going to forget about it as soon as that series in Seattle moves. But to end the season with 3 series wins against 3 division rivals would go a long way to kind of removing the stank that's on this season. And they can do it. I think they're set up to do it as long as they keep hitting the ball well. And one key thing that they've done in this Royal Series that they need to do in this Minnesota Series is when the ball's put in play, you got to turn it into outs. When you have runners on base, you got to turn that into runs. And the Tigers have been doing that better since the series in Baltimore. Again, I call it the Scott Harris effect. Everybody watched that opening presser. Everybody is hopefully taking that to heart. So hopefully they'll go out on the season with a high note.